What's up, guys? It's MB Boxing. I just finished up watching Danny Garcia versus Jose Benavidez Jr., and this was a 12-rounder in the super welterweight division. And this fight was Saturday, July 30th from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. And this fight was broadcasted on Showtime. And in this fight, Danny Garcia was able to get an odd majority decision victory over Jose Benavidez Jr. And the reason why I say odd is because this fight should have been a clear unanimous decision for Garcia. I don't know how one judge had to say draw. I mean that is just crazy. I personally scored this bout 117 to 111 in favor of Danny Garcia. It could have been 118, 110. I just thought that Danny Garcia won this fight clear. The three judges scored this bout, obviously 114, 114, which is just nuts. One judge had it 116, 112, which is a bit of a stretch for Benavidez Jr. And then they had it 116, 112 for Danny Garcia, but I think 4 rounds is still a bit of a stretch. And the other judge had my scorecard, which was 117, 111. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know how a judge could score this a draw, but just to break this fight down, I gave the first round to Jose Benavidez Jr. Benavidez was able to sort of back up Danny Garcia a bit in that round, really dictated the pace. That's why I gave him it. But then rounds 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 were all rounds I gave to Danny Garcia. He just simply outworked Benavidez Jr. in those rounds, just outlanded him, outthrew him. Benavidez Jr. was coming forward a lot throughout this fight, but he just wasn't doing enough. He was just getting hit with combinations and just taking them without moving, without any counters. He was trying to be like a tough guy and show he had like bravado or something. Like when he was coming forward, he was like smiling at Garcia when he was eating punches, but it was just stupid. I mean, he should have just at least countered or done something, but he just wasn't. But then Benavidez Jr. actually did decent around 8 and 9, I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah, he did pretty solid in those rounds. He was able to land some nice shots on Danny Garcia, back him up a bit into the ropes, throw some nice combinations, and he won those rounds pretty clear. But then the rest of the rounds, Danny Garcia was boxing on the outside, landing some combinations, counters, and whatnot, and won those rounds clear. Round 12, I mean, the entire round, both of them were like sticking their tongue out at each other, and they were smiling, doing whatever. And like I said before, Benavidez was just like coming forward, eating punches, and like smiling. I mean, that's not going to win you the fight. I mean, I don't know what he was doing. And based on how close one judge had it, or two judges had it very close, one having it a draw, one having it 8-4. I mean, if he could have pushed himself in some of those rounds where he was coming forward and not doing anything, maybe he could have got a very lucky draw. But he didn't, and he was just taking those punches, and at least somehow for him, he was able to get a draw on one judge's scorecard, which is just crazy. But comment down below if you watched this fight and how you scored it, because I'm very interested to see if anyone actually had it that close. But I would say the consensus score is around 117, 111 for Danny Garcia. So this goes into the question, what is next for Danny Garcia? If I'm going to be 100% honest, I'm not much of a fan of his fights and his style. I think he's very boring. I know I hate to say it bluntly, but I just am not a fan of his fights. But in his next fight, I mean, they did interview Tony Harrison in the sort of the side of the ring because he was there. Now it's super welterweight. I would love to see a clash between Danny Garcia and Tony Harrison. That'd be a very, very fun, like maybe co-main event, maybe main event. Who knows? That'd be a very, very good fight. That's definitely an option for him. But I think anyone inside the top 20 in the super welterweight division could be a decent fight for Danny Garcia because there's a lot of good fighters at super welterweight, and anyone inside that top 20 is a very, very good fighter. I mean, you have to be real. Super welterweight is one of the really best rising divisions in the world. It's a very underrated weight class because many people don't realize how much talent is actually there, but there's a lot, and it's a very good, really action-packed weight class. But as for Jose Benavidez Jr. losing here for the second time in his career, this is his first ever decision loss. I think in his next fight he'll take on maybe a lower ranked guy, or he might have a layoff actually, considering after that loss to Crawford, how he had a 3-year long layoff. He might have a year layoff before stepping back in the ring again, maybe against, I hate to say it, again, I hate to say something so bluntly, but he might face a bum in his next fight, as in a bum, I mean an unknown level fighter they could get an easy win against, maybe in a year or so, maybe late 2022, I mean, I know that's actually not too far off, but yeah, he could take on someone maybe in early 2023. I mean, could be a while. Who knows? I mean, with him, I don't know if he's going to take a long layoff or if he's going to get right back in there in the ring. But I think in his next fight, it'll be against a lower ranked guy that he'll get an easy win against. So overall, Danny Garcia defeats Jose Benavidez by majority decision, although it should have been a wide unanimous decision. But nonetheless, he still gets his comeback victory. And yeah, that's really it. I'm MB Boxing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.